Okay. Hey, you guys. Man, I just did like four fucking takes on this thing, man. For the past like 30 minutes. For the past like 30 minutes, I've been sitting here explaining everything, like, in my thought process, all this kind of stuff. And then my screen was this big for my webcam. It was this big, so you guys weren't able to see what I was talking about because my fat ass fucking head was all the way in the foreground. I'm just gonna keep my camera this small, okay? This is confusing the shit out of me. Hey you guys, it's Jordan. We're just going over my the project that I just did. Fuck. Okay. All right. We're just gonna get this shit over with, man. Okay. Hey, you guys. I know it's been a long time since you've seen me in the flesh. So, one of you guys actually suggested that I come on here with a face camera, and here I am. It's still something that's gonna take me getting used to. Like I said, I just filmed or recorded like four videos where either my webcam was too big and it covered my entire screen. Uh, yeah, I'm pretty sure that was like every single time I messed up. So I'm gonna, yeah, I'm just gonna keep my screen like myself this small, and maybe I can like, I don't know. There's no way to have like my camera here and then also have the thing the screen. All right, fuck it. So I'm gonna try not to be a lazy ass and cover everything I just spoke about. I made so many good points, man. Fuck. This is just, it comes with the territory, man. It comes with the territory. Just be patient. Um, yeah. I know a lot of you guys have a lot of questions, right? Um, some of you guys are probably wondering, why don't you record with your face camera if you have one? It's just another barrier to like making a video. You know what I mean? It's really uh, for me at least, it's very it's like, okay, right? I could wake up and just record this video and just chill out, without having you guys having to see me wonder like, shit, am I too bald? Am I bald enough? Like, fuck. There's so many questions. Is my room clean? Well, that can usually be solved by me just turning the camera this way so you guys can't see like my bedroom. Uh, yeah. Um, man, I'm trying to see like what points I made that I really don't want to forget this time around. This is crazy. Like, okay. Um, okay. Fuck. This is scuffed, man. This is why I don't stream. This is exactly why I don't stream. Okay. So, okay. Just making sure shit looks functional here. So, oh my god, man. Fuck. God knows I don't want to do this shit. I don't want to have to say all this shit I just said again. But I love you guys. So, I'll do it again. All right? Don't get used to this shit. I'm not going to keep doing this. If I swear, like, whatever. It's just so annoying to have to like record a video twice, and then for the last 30 minutes I've been saying the exact same shit three times in a row, man. It's fucking crazy. I'm sorry if I'm cursing a lot. I'm just pissed. I'm so pissed. Oh man. Okay. Man. All right. I'm not tilted anymore. I'm reformed. Let's get this going. Fuck. Okay, so basically, guys, words cannot explain how pissed I am right now. Okay, so basically, this is we're gonna just be talking about the project that I just finished and just go over, what I was thinking about it during the time, what I learned from it, just the usual. So, with this project, I took it, I created it during my class with Brainstorm. It was a flash class. I just wanted to see what it was about. Like I said in my previous video, like one of my friends, Tanya, she recommended me to try it out, see how I like it. Obviously, she didn't pay for it because I mean, this shit cost me $200. But yeah, bada boom, bada bing. What can you do? So basically, yeah, I basically took this class to just try my hand at an exterior shot, and what my idea was while I was planning it versus what it turned out to be. Those two things were just very different. Um, like I was talking about in my last video, or in my last take, basically, like I had planned for this to be, an exterior shot similar to how Oliver Beck does his like these large scale villages and towns and cities. I wanted to try my hand at that, and at the same time, like I think I just got carried away with wanting to show off everything. I tried to have my cake and eat it too, whatever that quote means. It doesn't make sense to me, but it just fit the situation, so I'm gonna use that. But yeah, I basically wanted to have this large scale, far away from the camera frame, but I also wanted to show the detail and design that I put into each building, and that's where I kind of suffered a little bit because I did all of my planning around this being a village exterior shot. Sorry, and it turned out to be, well, this. Man, I'm so sorry, guys. My body can't take this right now. And so it turned out it ended up being this, which was the interior. And if you look at some of my early shots, like, let me just go back real quick. Yeah, if we look at like this shot right here, at this point, like I had no idea what I was gonna do. The only thing I knew was that I wanted to show off all of the buildings. You can even see one of the buildings I ended up not even using because it was such a big building and it had so many issues that I needed to solve that like it would have just added time that I wasn't willing to spend, obviously, to the project. And of course, you see these like, my arrays and my modifiers are going fucking ape shit right now because like I merged the building without like applying all of the scale or applying all the modifications, so like they just started glitching out like crazy. Like you can see like this part has patterns, this one doesn't. This part has patterns and this one doesn't. Like all kinds of stuff. There's the detail densities that are different. So there's so many things that I was kind of tackling at the same time. And if I were to say like I had all this figured out from the jump, I'd be lying. Like because like I said, I had planned this around. I planned, and my intentions were originally just to have this. Like I said, like I was thinking about village layouts and like what kind of cinematic shot could be used if I were to take it from the front. If I were to take the camera from the front, the shot from the front. Yeah, so like it just really, I kind of just did a really sharp 180, in terms of what direction I was going in. And about halfway through the class, I kind of realized, okay, well, I might not be able to finish this on time, for the last class. Like, I think the last thing I turned in was this. And obviously, this is nowhere in finished close to what we have at the end. I mean, it's close, but it's not exactly 1-to-1. But yeah, dude, like, I just tried to basically, like, once I got to this point, I was like, okay, well, this is a good enough layout. This is like all the buildings are pointed and facing this big building in the center, so I think I can make that work. And obviously, a lot of things changed as far as like what I decided to show off. There were a lot of different problems that I had to think about because one of the biggest things, and like of course my environment is like blocked in right here, but later on I added in like, well, I'll talk about that later. But the early stages of this was pretty much doing the planning that I would have done in sketching, but like actually in 3D instead. And I think that's why I took like shots of each, you know, step I took here, because it was like, well, I don't have the sketches to show what was going through my mind, so maybe I can talk over them. So yeah, it was just basically freestyling it from here. Like there was no real plan. And at this point I was still figuring out the colors. You can see that like the colors are nowhere near like what they look like here. So I was still figuring out the color scheme, just everything. It just didn't really have a strong workflow because of how much I was jumping around. And then another thing, dude, was like I said before, like I was trying to show off every building at the same time, and that just wasn't working. Like, so it kind of, in a lot of ways, it even backfired. The fact that I tried to do this interior shot of the village instead of doing what I planned for, which was like some kind of in the distance, large scale village, you know. So yeah, I mean, holy shit. I mean, with me trying to show off everything at the same time, I mean, I tried a lot of different layouts with the buildings. I mean, these are just, you know, slightly changed versions, but I was just going around and trying to figure out like, okay, well, this tower's here, this tower's there. How do I get the same wall effect that I was looking for in my sketches to show that it's inside of a boundary? These aren't just in open fields. And I was just doing this all before I started focusing on color, I think. And then another thing was like, well, I can't show off all the buildings equally, so I should probably do some call outs. And that's where my call out pages came from, here with these, because it was like, okay, well, there's some buildings in here that you can see without needing like a real call out to be able to take in the details. But I was just like, okay, well, hey, well, I'm just gonna choose the four that I like the most silhouette wise and just kind of add some design onto them. Like you can see for this one right here, like I wasn't really happy with how this turned out, especially with like some of the thickness of some of the parts I had on it. And then there were some parts that just didn't really, like how this shape goes in here, there's no real transition here. So there's like, it's just small stuff like that. I mean, hell, I didn't even design the doors. Like I just slapped in some like random doors or like wood right there to like say like, hey, like these do have doors. Like I couldn't, because by this point, like while I was painting over it, I just didn't really want to hop back into 3D, and my paint over skills aren't that strong enough yet to like go painting doors in, for whatever reason. And that's something that I really want to tackle this year, is just being more, going back to my fundamentals a little bit more and focusing more on like sketching and being able to paint things into the scene without having to go into 3D and then build it and then paint over. It's just such, I feel like I would get a lot more freedom if I was able to do that. So yeah, what was I saying? So yeah, that's basically it. Like I didn't want to just have this shot and let that be it. Especially with me not being comfortable with a lot of these buildings. So if I go back to here, so you can see like once I kind of had the general idea of it being, this circle around this main building, I knew I wanted there to be higher elevation with it too, so it popped up a little bit higher than everything else. But like this is something that Oliver Beck was showing us. Like he doesn't try to like make the terrain first. You just kind of get the feel of elevation first before you go committing to making meshes and stuff like that. So I was just like, okay, well, I'll just try that. and that saved me a lot of time in the early stages because I didn't have to worry about it. And then I thought it was a clever idea to have these like spikes coming off of the top. Like imagine you're going through like a gatehouse or something, like a wooden gatehouse, and then you have like all the spikes and fortifications. I thought it'd be cool if these spikes were also pointing towards the focal point. That was just like a little small thing I put in there. And then of course you see the terrain come in here. So like I just basically took a plane and then just raised, like subdivided it to hell, and then I just raised it up and messed with it with spatial, I think it's called I forget what it's called. It's like it's a setting in Blender where you click one thing and you can like, I think it's called spatial editing or something. I forget. But yeah, after that point, I was just trying to figure out a foreground, and at this point you can even see like some of the meshes aren't even like fully there yet. Like I have this building clipping through here, clipping into that. I don't have doors for any of the buildings yet. Yeah, it's just like just figuring that stuff out too. And then another thing that I noticed, because with this class I ended up downloading some add-ons for Blender. One of them being Geoscatter, which I think was like, I don't know, I just remember it being a little bit expensive. Same with Botanic, that's where I got all the plants. And it turns out plants are really heavy on polygons and polycounts and stuff like that. So it started making my computer chug pretty bad. Actually, like halfway through it, I had to take a lot of these things out and then paint them in, which was pretty cool because it, you know, nature is one thing that I used to draw a lot, like just trees and rocks, and just have fun with it because it doesn't take perspective. You just pretty much, you can just draw like whatever. And I just randomly study like rock shapes and stuff like that. Like this is like 2020, 2019. Pretty cool stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much that. And this is where I started adding that, like I said, that foliage in. At this point, this is where my computer is like, all right, enough is enough. Like you add another tree, I'm gonna blow your house up type shit. Like I was like, okay, like I can't do more than that. So eventually, once it started, like when I started trying to press render, it just wouldn't, like it would take so long, and sometimes it would even crash. So that's where I kind of got scared, and then I started dialing it back a little bit. So you can see I took out a lot of like the foliage that was in places that were kind of questionable. And then from there, honestly, like I don't know why it's so much sharper. Like these trees right here versus here. I think it's the lighting. Yeah, it might just be the lighting. Because that's something else I was trying to play with too. Like I had the lighting coming from the right, but I also had, so I think what happened with this one is I had like a sun node, and the sun node was going like this way, right? Like, fuck. That's the one time I'll ever say like my hand is too bright to like, okay, so basically like the sun was coming from this way, and I think I had an HDRI that was coming like from another direction. So basically they were like casting shadows and like conflicting directions, which really confused the mess out of me when I was doing the lighting for this. Actually, one of my like school friends had to like reach out, or like one of my classmates, she reached out and she's like, hey, like what direction is the lighting coming from? And I was like, that's a good fucking question. Like I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like here, right? You can see like there's I wonder, because most of that is Blender. Like this is pre-paint over, you know what I mean? So it's like, is the lighting, because this shadows that direction, which is, but there's also like this, dude, I don't know where this went wrong, honestly. I don't know what happened. I'm just as clueless as you guys are. But yeah, that's something that like kind of bothered me a little bit too. But yeah, I wish I could have had more trees in the foreground though, like these like baby trees that are growing. What I wanted to do also was like I wanted there to be a path going up to it, like with some rocks on the sides and stuff like that. I thought that would have been pretty cool. And I was trying to use Quixel Mixer to get that to work, but to put that texture on like something that isn't flat proved pretty difficult. I couldn't really figure it out. My one friend, he was recommending me to pit it on. There was something like some modifier that you could like pit a flat surface. If it's subdivided enough, you can pit it on like a circle and it'll like glue itself on there and it'll be good. But I just couldn't figure that out for the life of me. So like to try to keep the project small enough, like I was just like, okay, well, I'll just put some like planks leading up to the thing, and I think the people will get the point. It's supposed to be like a path that diverges, left and right throughout the village. So yeah, yeah, here it is, and like it's. I wish I would have been paying more attention to the color of the planks because it's a very bright. Like whenever I went to like add rendering to them, it was really hard to deal with that and to also have the idea that they're wood. These could be mistaken as like whatever, like stone or something. It's really confusing. So that's something else I wish I would have kind of been a little bit more patient with. But at this point, like I think I was just getting tired of working on this. Like I was working on this in Discord, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're still working on that?" I'm like, fuck. So yeah, the lighting. I wanted the. I felt like the lighting and the shadows there wasn't really a lot of contrast there. And that was a big worry of mine. Like I wanted the light to be like super contrasty. I didn't want it to be like barely like a hint brighter. So I turned that up and snuck some plants back in, right? So I snuck some plants back in, and I thought that looked pretty nice. I won't lie. Like this part's kind of weird looking. Like there's just a wall of flowers in front of this this entrance, and I'm pretty sure that stayed in there to the final. But that's what I mean. Like you can't make everything perfect. Sometimes you just find your improvements through reflection. You just look back at something that you did and spent 100 hours in, and just be like, okay, going forward, I don't want to make the same mistake. And that just seems to be my approach with this one. It's just like I knew there were so many things that I was doing for the first time that I just had to give up on the idea of it being perfect. And this being like some crazy piece. It was just like, okay, I have no pieces of an exterior shot for anything. Like I should probably try to figure this out with this. And I also don't have a lot of cinematic shots. Like if you guys look at a lot of FCD portfolios, they'll have a 3/4 and then they'll have a cinematic, which is kind of like a first person shot inside of the shot. Like you're here, you're in the scene, you can see like X, Y, and Z better. I had pretty much none of those because I sucked. Like I could not figure that out for the life of me in FCD. So this was kind of like me in a lot of ways proving to myself that like, okay, you can figure this out if you're just patient enough. And that's probably why I ended up that's probably why I went that route instead of doing the village from far away. Because not only did I I had my personal reasons for wanting to showcase like all the designs I put into the village, but also kind of wanted to prove to myself, and I saw like a little chance there to be like, hey man, you can figure out a cinematic shot. Like, so I think that's where that came from, if I'm being honest. Like I said, just a lot of the times I just have to, this is something that I beat myself up about all the time. It's just like, what's missing from my portfolio. And a lot of times that seriously bleeds into like whether or not I'd apply for certain jobs even. This is something I'm also trying to get over. Like if you asked any of my friends, man, I go to Doom City over this shit. Like and I'm aware of it at least, you know what I mean? Like I try not to be like, I try not to let it get to the point where I'm dragging them down, you know what I mean? I'll be like in a rut, like clearly I'm stressed out about that, but like I don't want that to always be like, hey, we're gonna talk to Jordan, he's gonna be dooming again. Like I hope my friends don't see me that way, and I don't want them to. So like it's my responsibility to tackle that. The calls of that for me, and that's just, man, I don't know. That's just me getting off my ass and applying to more jobs, which I have been doing for the past couple days. I've been finally getting on that. So yeah, but yeah, with this, like I really like these add-ons. By the way, Geoscatter and Botanic, like I think it cost me a total like $250 or something like that. And I know Evan's probably gonna be thinking, oh, 250, like because of this inside joke we have, I guess. I don't know what you would call it. But yeah, it cost me like 250. So like not only did I spend $200 on the class, but I spent like 250 on add-ons to use in that class. So yeah, like this was also me learning how to use this add-on for the first time as well. Like with the plants and like how to scatter them without them looking like they were placed. I don't know, to make them look natural. So that's what I was trying to do here with the plants. And I think to a degree, I think I did pull that off pretty well. Of course, there's things, like I said, that I would improve on. Let's just get that shit straight. Of course, I would improve on those things, but we got to be realistic with our time. You just can't do it all at once sometimes. And yeah, I had to be real with myself there. Here is where I started, like, I actually don't think there's any more 3D that's being added here. For the most part, it looks like it's just paint over. So, like, if you look at how the textures stretch sometimes in 3D, this is something you could solve in 3D, but, like, dude, honestly, like, it's gonna take a long fucking time. Like, you're gonna be, like, with how textures, like, stretch around certain models that you might make, it's gonna take so long. Like, I just figured, okay, I'm just gonna paint these things out. So like you can see stuff like this, these like dark patches of texture that sometimes get in there. You can just see me like painting some of that stuff out. Like you can see here, just paint it out, paint it out, paint it out. For the most part. And then of course I tried to like paint some planks onto the door, which from afar probably are passable, but like, and I still haven't painted out a lot of that stuff. You could see here, like I painted in some like chips on the wood. So like this was another way for me to like try to figure out, okay, well, what can I do? Especially in some of these places, man, like the textures are crazy looking. Let me see. Oh yeah, and I painted in like these extra, these like small details here, right? I painted in that, which I mean, if you zoom in on it, you can see how rough that is. But like from afar, it's like who's zooming in on it that far? It's like small things like that I want to try to learn to do better. Same with this, like from afar, you cannot really tell that was painted in. You see, so that saves that's something that saves a lot of time too. Same here, like you can see like the cycles glitch. It did something weird here. Just paint that over. So like usually what I found recently was that the smudge tool is really good at that. Because what I would usually do is I would go through and like, color pick a color that's like close enough so where it doesn't, it's not standing out. It's not standing out too much that it's painted over, and I just do that. But like the smudge brush, chef's kiss actually. Like it say you don't have to go color picking everything. You can even use it like a texture one too, and just like go over it, and that'll pretty much do the same thing. I also did that with some of the textures here in the foreground. Like you can see like just a little bit, nothing too crazy. I think this is where I was doing it with the hard brush instead of the smudge though. So like if you zoom in, you can definitely see. But like from afar, it's probably passable. I mean, especially if it was a concept or like something like that, you don't want to be spending time on stuff like that too much, I'm assuming. Another thing I did was blacking out all of the windows, so like they weren't like super 3D looking. I just added black, black them in. And then for some of these, I was even painting on like extra stuff. I don't know what I had in my mind there, but like yeah, yeah, just painting over, just adding, and I'm still dipping my hands, dipping my feet into this like paint over skill tree. So I don't have it all the way figured out yet. Um, but this is I'll give myself this is a good start. I even started doing that for like some of the foliage too, because I realized like I can't keep adding more of these botanic plants. So, like it's gonna blow my goddamn computer up. Um, so I was like, okay, well, I'll go from this being like really 3D looking, right? Like where there's a lot of gaps. Like I was saying in another take that I had, um, a lot of the a lot of the time with these 3D bushes and stuff like that, you'll see like peaks through like I don't know why. This just makes it look super 3D sometimes. So like what I tried to do was add like bigger patches of them. Just like just go through with the brush just like, okay, like you know, just adding random colors to make it a lot less like static looking. I did that with here too, like just in random spots just to like fill it up. Some of the flowers are even painted in. Like I just painted in like random shapes for the flowers. And this is probably stuff you won't even notice, but like for me, like since I'm the one doing it, like it just makes it that much more bearable for me. Um, Same with like a lot of the plants. I felt like a lot of the plants were like too thin looking. The models were too thin at least, so like I, paint in some of the grass. You can see like here, like look at that. And it's really like as far as like what you can get away with for that too. Like it's very there's a very thin line. Like it's like the second you zoom in, it's like, huh. but from afar, I mean, it passes, so I just didn't worry about it. I was just like, whatever, let's just have fun with it, see where it takes me. This is me just trying to figure out the fog. For a long time, I just never understood it. I never got it down. So like I was just trying to figure out, okay, well, what if I put something in front of the light source, like a big plane or like a big block in the path that would cast that shadow across the camera on the ground. So I was trying stuff like that. I didn't like how that ended up looking though, so I just kept the light right here and hinted at maybe like a guard tower or something being on the left that's casting this shadow in the foreground. Another thing also is like I was like painting these like small shapes around the windows because I was so like unsatisfied with how they turned out these buildings. So like I was just trying to really do something. Like this is before I did the presentations with like the 4 call outs or whatever. And here I like did some these red that red is very oversaturated though. Holy shit. I mean, you've got like a small patch of like 3D roses there, and I tried to do like add in some more, and I think that kind of stands out a little bit. What else? Yeah, so these are just the fog passes. I was trying to figure things out. And then another thing that I noticed is that like, okay, when you have darkness like this, right? Atmospheric perspective is like when the atmosphere being oxygen or whatever and all the gases that are in the atmosphere, like the further things get away from you, the more desaturated they are, the more like it's like a white sheet or like this really thin white layer is like at like 10% opacity, when you start looking at things that are really far away. And I didn't want things to look like they were all equal distance, which is why I was trying to figure out the whole like fog thing. So like things could be more in focus with the atmospheric perspective and some things more in the background. So I noticed that also applies to the shadow like that I had in the windows. So I was also trying to figure that out, and I'll show you that later. You can see like how, and obviously I wouldn't use these layers like by themselves in isolation. I would have like a mask probably. I think that's how I did it at least. So yeah, just messing around with certain shadows, lighting, just figuring things out still. And this is after, like, keep in mind, like, these paint over things that I did were before I went into the shadows. So when I did that, I think I lost a lot of the paint over, and I had to do a lot of that stuff again because I used this layer mask that was over it. So I couldn't keep a lot of those details if the fog was over or on top of the paint over stuff. So that's another thing to keep in mind. I probably started doing the paint over for stuff like this a little too early. I definitely advise doing like your lighting passes, your shadow passes, your you know what's it called? Your like I forget the word. It's a something. Um, Fuck, this is gonna drive me nuts, man. I forgot. Okay, ambient occlusion, that kind of stuff. You want to get all that stuff figured out before you start doing paint overs. Like I would leave paint over stuff honestly for like the later parts. I would just like like past lighting when you're doing your masking and all that because it can really throw things off. And then here I was playing with different hues, like a slight orange tint on over everything, a slightly blue tint. And my idea here was to have my shadows be like a tint of blue, and then have my lights be a tint of orange. But yeah, that just I don't know. I don't know if I even stuck with that honestly. Um, so yeah, and then after I did all that stuff, I ended up here, which is a pretty big jump if I'm being honest. I wish I would have. I mean, I think I was just so locked in from this point. Let me see if I have more. I think I for sure have. Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay. So this is where I was trying to figure out, like, okay, I have the fog for the most part. I'm trying to figure out the sky and the birds. You know, I put those in there just to make it look a little bit more alive, I guess. And made the focal point a little bit more in focus, just ever so slightly. And then I started just instantly, like once I figured that out, I instantly started adding my shadows and like the foreground, everything. I started like making, parts that I thought like are a little bit less, like exaggerating the shadows pretty much. Um, yeah, so I started exaggerating the shadows. Like this part is not facing the sun, instantly darker. Like this part isn't facing the sun, instantly darker. Just stuff like that. What the hell just happened? Yeah, you see that? Just pitting shadows with a pass, like under anywhere I thought the sun wasn't like directly interacting with. But then as I did this, I was like, okay, well, something doesn't look right with this, right? Because it has some of the atmospheric perspective on it, but the shadows aren't being affected by that. So I had to go in like, here, where did I do that? Yeah, wait. Okay, I did that way later. Holy shit. Okay. So I had the shadows in, and I started noticing, like, for some reason my eyes were being drawn here. And I was like, I wonder if it's because of the shadows. Like something just doesn't look right with these two, and these, like, a lot of the shadows were just way too dark. And it was just getting to the point where like a lot of things were inconsistent. So like I just kept an eye on it, I guess, while I did other stuff. But you can see like all my paint over pretty much for the most part went away because I had to do all of these like passes um, with like the shadows and whatnot. So all those flowers and things that I had painted in, like some of them stayed in because they weren't in the affected areas. But for the most part, like all the other stuff started, I had to bring those back in. So with me realizing that I wouldn't be able to add in all of the trees and rocks and stuff because my computer was gonna shit it. So I just kind of started painting in a lot of rocks and stuff like that. And I thought that was the coolest shit. I don't know how I figured that out, but I was just like, man, like this would be so much simpler if I could just do that. And I guess I just figured that out. I got these back in, started just adding rocks. Like you could just see I just painted them in because they don't take seriously. They almost take very little perspective. So I just started doing that, and then what I would do that would kind of bring it into the scene is I would like throw an eraser over it, like a eraser, like you see this little texture here. I would use that texture, but as an eraser, and then just kind of erase it into the scene somehow, and that's dude, that shit worked like a child. Like honestly, I was just like, holy shit, it doesn't even look like it's painted in that much. So I did a lot of that foreground like painting that way, and it was a lot less noticeable because of that texture, I think. But then again, I was still at this point. I think I was still noticing these shadows and whatnot. Just they were throwing me off the darkness of them. And then also I didn't have a sky. Around this time, this is where I showed it to my friends, and this is why it's always good to bounce things off of people who understand things better than you do. Trust me. But I showed this to my friends, and they were immediately like, "Hey, like you should add, a sky in there. You should add the mountains." And I was like, "Okay, I'll work on that." And I was also noticing that these back buildings were like catching a lot more fog than I really wanted them to, so I kind of brought them back into focus a little bit, with the background being more fogged out. And keep in mind, I even did some of that paint over stuff. Like, let me see. Yeah, I even did some of that paint over stuff for the trees. Like, if you look at it here, like, it looks a little static. So I just kind of, I don't think it, fuck, I don't think it worked as well as I wanted it to, but for the most part, like, I thought, at the time at least, I thought it looked a little better. So I did that. You can see the little squiggly. I was just trying to get that shit to read, man. Because from a distance, like, all these logs, the wood inside of the tree just really wasn't reading. So I just wanted to push that just a little bit. Same with, like, the light bouncing off of the trees. Wanted that to pop out a little bit more. Yeah. So yeah, after I started adding in these rocks and stuff like that, I was having a pretty good feeling about it. And then I started adding like reflections off of the trees and stuff. And I kind of took, if I'm being honest, I just winged it. Like with the shadows and highlights, I've never done it before. So like I was just trying to just wing it, honestly. I don't even think I used reference for it. I just took some leaves and just threw highlights on them. Some leaves would come out and just, they'd be a highlight. It's kind of like painting with light instead of actually painting on each leaf, you know what I mean? It's like there weren't leaves there to start with a lot of the times. I just add like a leaf there, like these straight leaves that just come out of the silhouette. And yeah, but at this point I still didn't change the shadows. I think I only, or did I? Dude, when did I adjust the shadow? Okay, maybe. Wait, no way I kept that in like that. Okay. Oh man, I was about to lose my shit. I thought I uploaded that like that, with the shadows being that dark. I still think they could have probably been adjusted a little bit, but yeah. And then one of my friends was also telling me like, oh yeah, more highlights on the ground too. I wanted the ground to feel like it was being affected by the sunlight, So like after I added it to this bush and this, I just wanted it to, now the ground looks like it's being like everything just looks a little bit more reflective to show that the sunlight is actually coming onto them. See, I even put like random dots in there just to make it more readable that, hey, sunlight. I wanted it to seem more strong, Some highlights here were like too sharp or too bright for like how much light they were receiving, so I also downed that a little bit. Like for these, like just a little less transparent or a little more transparent. And then I was noticing that like these planks were like freaking the fuck out. I remember some of these textures were taking in so much sunlight that they'd almost get like bleached. Like I'm talking Michael Jackson bleached. Like this shit was so like I was like, okay, well let me fix this. Like it was like brown. They had some brown, but like they got a little better, but in some spots. But like for the most part, like look at this. You see that shit? Fuck. I was just like, yeah, nah. I gotta try to figure that out. Yeah. So eventually, I ended up like doing some kind of paint over thing or something with it. I don't know how I figured that out, but I thought it looked at least better than it did before. Because it was just like a sore, like I don't know. And I was still, I had the same feeling that I did with that, with like the planks in the middle. But I was just like, okay, I'll just keep it like that. Screw it. Like at this point, I need to just finish this. And then also with the vignette around the edges, I also smoothed out a lot of these textures because some textures were like really taking in like they were looking like on the realistic side where like this was like stylized looking. So like I had to go in with the smudge brush. Went in with the smudge brush and that cleared it up a little bit. Still super or no, I think I just went over with the transparent like a 50%, maybe 35, somewhere in that range, that kind of brush, and I just went over it with one color. And that just kind of got rid of all those hard shadows that were making the texture look a lot more realistic than I was anticipating. Now, of course, like if I had a few more skill points in the 3D skill tree, I could have easily just went back and you know, adjusted a lot of the layers, but then it would have probably affected things that I felt were okay most for the most part and made those things look worse. Like if it's like a big problem I'm only seeing in like one or two spots, but every other spot generally speaking looks better. I don't think it's worth going in and changing everything for the sake of fixing that one spot, because then now you flipped what essentially was like 20% of the work. Now you have to do the reverse, which is now it's 80% because you fixed the 20 with that major change. It's like, you get what I'm saying? Like you flip it on its head and you still have to do the work, but just quadruple times. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. So yeah, and then I also like added in these clouds, the stylized clouds, looking clouds. But I was thinking like, okay, well, they, I remember one of my friends, he brought it up. He was like, oh, the clouds look like too, compared to the background, they look too present. I don't know, they don't look like they're scattered at all. And I also added in like small highlights on the birds, just like it just gave them more of that feeling that they were getting affected by sunlight, similar to what I did on the ground, you know, with the random splashes of light. So I made it transparent. That wasn't really working. I didn't really like how that was looking. So I just used the smudge tool to just soften the edges of the clouds. And they ended up looking okay. I mean, I'm not 100% happy with it, but like I said, there's so many things that you're tackling at once. You just sometimes gotta let certain things go. Like you gotta let them be that and tackle them the next time around, you know? Another thing I forgot to point out was like a lot of the textures on these towers, because the towers I did not really appreciate that much. I felt like the design were rushed with those, so like I didn't want to go back into 3D, but like these hatches that you see, and like this is all paint over. Like I just tried to add some detail on it so it didn't look so bare. You know, like if you look at this, it's like, oh man, it's a square with a box on it. But like I thought like, okay, if I just add some like textures on there, like it'll probably look a little better. I just didn't want to hop back into 3D at all. I think that I did the same thing for this one over here. Like I just added in these little notches and then added spikes on the corner wood parts. And I was just like, okay, that's enough. Then I did the same thing with this one. Just added something to look at. Even though they're not the focal points, I mean, they still, I think it made it look a little better. And that was pretty much it. I brought the transparency back with the clouds just a little bit. Honestly, in hindsight, I would have probably kept them closer to this than being like that. But it created this like cool looking effect right here, though. like with the, thought that looked pretty cool. But yeah, this is just some stuff that I was gonna do for another project, like but I ended up scratching that. So let's go back. Yeah, with these, like with here, let me close these real quick so we can stay on track. Yeah, with these, basically, this is another thing I had to let go. Because, wait, what the? Okay, maybe let's do this one. Okay, yeah, these two I had to basically choose the 4 buildings that I like the most, because for me to render all 8 buildings that I designed would have been just seriously like unrealistic. I felt like once I rendered like 4 of these, like I feel like people get the point, you know. And then all of these were also redesigns that I did, because I didn't want to redesign like the whole thing. But like this building, for example, I just felt was lacking in like character compared to like this one, right? And it was like one of my favorite silhouettes in the whole thing. So like I tackled that one first. I just added in, I adjusted some of the proportions for everything and added in more details, because I just really like this building. And same for the other ones. Like I just added in a little bit more detail for the ones that I really liked. Didn't bother adding a door on these though. I was just like so over designing for this. Like I said, I didn't want this to go into 2025 and just be a whole nother thing, you know. Yeah. And there's some reference pages from my post, and this is pretty much like how it was going. You can see here, like you see how thick these things are compared to like how they are here. It might not be noticeable to you guys, but like especially here for me, like how thick that wood is compared to like this. Like if you look even here, you can see how like that is crazy, man. I was just like, yeah, I don't really like how that looks, but I didn't know how to fix it with like just a paint over. So I just, built this 3D model. Like I just took the 3D model of that and just spent like a day just going over it, redesigning a lot of the patterns and stuff like that. And I also didn't like how bare this front looked either. Like it just looked so boring with this, and the reason why I had to do this in like a separate file also was because for me to edit that building with it rotated was one challenge, right? For me to also add that detail into the scene without it crashing, because at that point, there was like a 50% chance whenever I pressed F12 that my computer was just gonna blow a hole in my wall. Like it was just seriously like my computer would like I would press the render button and my computer would just go like like it start freaking out, and I'm just like okay. I try to cancel it, the whole thing just goes out. It goes out. Blue screen, anything. Yeah. Same here. It's just like this is what I was working with when I was pretty much making this scene. And you can see it didn't even make it into the buildings that I used. Like, I just put that shit in the background. Like, I think I didn't even use it. I was just like, well, I really like the silhouette. So, like, I just added more to it, fixed the colors up to match, the other buildings. And that's kind of where I ended up at, So I didn't want all of these buildings to suffer because I was rushing. But I just wanted to show that, like I could take it past that point if I had the time. Same with this one. This one I felt was really raw. It was just like bare bones almost. Sure, this as a design probably works and could work for a lot of things, but like I just wanted it, of course, to match like the style of the main building. This one was I posted this whole thing on Reddit too, and one guy had told me this looked very Japanese, or not Japanese, but just Asian styled. I think in one of my references I saw that though, like there was a building that had like a multiple roofs, or maybe that's the one thing. See, it was like this, but I was like, I could probably add my own take on that. You know what I mean? Realistically, I could have probably just taken that and just reused it. But you see how like how their roofs like stack on top of each other, like this one. That's kind of what I was looking at. But I didn't pay attention to the specifics in terms of how they connected. But yeah, like I took this from being kind of more on the simple side and gave it like a nice new coat of paint, pretty much. And I just included these because I know people like on ArtStation sometimes want to see the evolution of it over time. Like I tried to do that in my first project. Let me see. With this one, right? Like tried to show like some kind of evolution over time, how I got to like the end product or whatever. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, right now I'm just looking at my next project, and I can show some of that to you guys. But after this, I was just so over. Like I was really, I would argue I was burned out. I was just like, man, like I posted this everywhere. I've gotten all the feedback and stuff like that. I got all the nice comments. Um, and I was just like, what do I do now? Like I should probably just do a smaller project, you know? So I've been working on this. It was supposed to be like a battle map, like a 2D top-down battle map. And I had like, there's this guy that does these. He's called 2 Minute Tabletop, and I thought it was a really cool how he has like these top-down like environments, but like I couldn't do this for the life of me because, sorry, whenever I look at these, like it's like there's so many details that I would want to express outside of just the top view of something that it would just drive me crazy. I tried to do it here with these like small rooms, and I was gonna go by profession this time around, like a mage, a botanist, tinker, hunter type archetype. And I was just like, man, I can't do this. Like, I just want to design like the interior, like actually. So I started like mapping out where things would be here from a like isometric view, similar to Baldur's Gate 1. I'm playing through Baldur's Gate 2 right now, but and then like I started going further down that road, and I was just like, man, I've done this already though. I'm not really showcasing anything new in my portfolio. And I even went to like starting to think about like, okay, well, what kinds of furniture would be in this room? And I was just like, man, I don't really want to do that. So like now I've pretty much been just downloading, designing furniture, and just like a prop set, you know. Here, I'll show you guys real quick, just like a little sneak peek, I guess, at what I'm focusing on right now. But yeah, it's been really tricky to work on it because I'm like at the like I'm on the edge of burnout right now because it's like after every big project I do, it's just like always the same thing. Like I thought I'd be able to take a break for a few days and be good, but after so long, I was just like, man, I am fucking out of it right now. But yeah, basically I started designing these like furniture props, and I have them set for an isometric view. And I thought it would just be cool to have like the line work for them and design like, a bunch of prop sets with like things that would be in them in each drawer or something like that, the layout of each drawer. With the tier system that I showed, like a tier 1 table versus like a tier 3 table, a tier 1 shelf like this one. Still very work in progress, this thing. I designing basic furniture is proving to be one of the fucking toughest things, because of course it's going to look generic, but you don't want it to look super generic, and then I have this one that I was like, let me see, put the shadows on, maybe. Oh, what the hell? Usually it looks a lot better than this one. Let You have the material view on. Oh, if you guys are wondering how I'm doing this, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you press Z, and you can drag it around and choose, instead of having to click up here, you can do that. And another thing that I noticed, I was on this one Discord. So, okay, I'm going to give you guys some quick tips real quick. Quick tips with Jordan. Okay? So, if you press and hold Z on Blender, you can bring up this menu that will save you the time of having to click up here. And you can also, another cool thing, like, have you ever been looking for something and you want to rename it? Or, like, you want to find it, like, where it is on this side here? If you can rename it by pressing F2, or if you want to find where it is here, like, say, like, this block or this person, you press F2 while you're hovered over this, and it'll skip you to that. And usually, I mean, it's very niche what it can be used for, but, like, it saved me a lot of time scrolling through things to find certain things, because I'll be trying to find, like, say, like, I'm trying to find this group of objects, right? To put them all into a group. I could do collection like this. Okay, I'm having a hard time explaining why this shit's useful, but I swear it's useful. In one way or another, it's useful. But you also don't have to right click to, like, add this to a collection. You can just press M and assign it to a collection. But yeah, this is basically what my isometric room was looking like, or going in the direction of. It was going to be like, all this stuff is in here and it's getting lit by one focal point spot, and then the light would bounce throughout the room and have maybe some supporting lights around, like candles, lanterns, or something like that. But yeah, right now I'm just working with this. These are supposed to be like a writer's room, some desk part. I really like this one though. If I could see, you see how much more things you can mess around with when you have a higher, detail level or tier. It's just like, you can make stuff look so much cooler in the higher levels than you can, like, makeshift. Makeshift is very hard to make look fun, because it's really not that. If you're making something makeshift, you're probably not a woodcrafter or like a carpenter at all. It's a very, like, just scrap put together. It's very hard to make it look interesting. I think that is probably, I would argue that making a good looking level 1 object is probably harder than making a good level 3 object. I would argue that a level 1 one is very hard, because it's just like, it's so generic, but you have to make it look generically good without being like every other thing you've ever seen. Like, I don't know. It's like, because it also runs into the issue of, like, how many times have we seen crates and barrels redesigned, right? But, like, no one wants to, like, as an artist, you don't want to make just, like, a basic ass, like, barrel. Like, no one wants to do that. Like, why? What's the point? Like, let me make something, or at least let me add some props around it or something. But anyways, yeah, that's just a little sneak peek at what I've been working on with that. As far as, like, updates outside of art, still doing jiu-jitsu. Yeah, all that fun stuff. Finally updated my pictures for my socials, because let me see, where was I? Yeah, finally got myself a new picture for my socials. So we're not looking too scuffed, It looks like I go outside, even though I don't. I went hiking one time with the boys in Cali, and that was pretty much it. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm very, like, right now, I'm still kind of burned. I wouldn't say I'm burned out, but I'm just tired. You know what I mean? One of my friends, Jerome, actually brought up the fact that maybe you should just, draw for fun. And it's, like, so hard for me to do that when I don't have a job. Like, of course, I could probably relax and just draw random shit. But, like, for me, I think one of the biggest things for right now is, like, I want to improve my skills for 2D a lot more. I feel like my 3D is just making leaps while my 2D is kind of lacking behind, like, slowly. Like, for every 3 points I put into the 3D skill tree, I put maybe 1 point in like 2D, and I don't want that to be the case because 2D is still very useful. I was doing some really loose sketches, like I was just drawing around while I watched like jujitsu videos, or like this was before I went to the gym today, but I was just drawing around, and like this is honestly really helping me to think things through rather than like jumping into 3D and just being like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? It's just, this is much more enjoyable for me, and I'm always like looking at 2D artists when I'm in discords and stuff, and I'm just like, man, I need to learn that. I really need to learn. And I know like whenever I'm in 3D, I know they're probably thinking the same thing, like, man, I need to learn that. It's like I said, man, you just always want what you never had, what you don't have. Another thing is man, learning more things with cooking. I've been trying to, like, my friend Evan, he put me onto this recipe for like lentil soup, and I swear it doesn't sound like particularly like crazy or anything, but it saves a lot of money, you know, when you cook at home, right? So it's a skill worth learning. What I want to get is a juicer. I really want to get a juice machine. But yeah, like it's just a skill that's really worth learning. Like I know smoothies and stuff like that. Even trying to eat healthier. I see people every day. Like, as I'm a cashier, right? Like during the day or day job, whatever. And I see people all the time. Like they go in there and they spend like, dude, they spend like $8 on like a juice that's like maybe like between 8 and 12 ounces, I think. And it's like, if with $8 you can literally buy everything to make two of those, maybe three even. I don't know, or maybe with like $10-12 you could probably get everything to make like 4 times more than that. A juice machine is like a good one. I think runs maybe around $100, maybe $200 range. So I'm kind of just waiting on shit to go on sale again before I get something like that. I don't want to spend too much money like on wants right now, because like obviously I'm part-time to try to pursue like my next gig pretty much, and that'll keep me afloat for a while before I'm back on it. It's just like, it's so demoralizing, I won't lie, sometimes, because like if it weren't for the stupid ass transmission, man, I'd be up $3,000 right now. Could you imagine? I'd be chilling so hard right now. I'd be like, okay, like I'm finding my next gig, but like I got enough money to keep me afloat for a couple, you know, not a couple months, but like if I'm working part-time and I have that like cushion, like holy shit, I'm chilling. You know, I could probably keep that going for like, I mean, you don't want to be in that position where you're like part-time and your account's going down like $100 every month type shit, but like that'd be a lot more of a cushion than what I have now, man. I constantly think about that. I'm just like, man, if I didn't have that fucking issue, I'd be coasting right now, man. But yeah, those are the two main things. I try to, this time around, I'm just trying to think of goals outside of just art to pursue, so that like whenever I'm struggling with it mentally, I can always take a break from it and make, you know, progress in another area of my life. So like when things aren't going well with it, it's not like all my eggs are in one basket, you know what I mean? Like if I have a bad day with design or art, I can always go to jiu-jitsu and like, you know, learn a new move, learn how to defend something, you know, at least talk to my like jiu-jitsu friends I've made at the gym, you know. And if it's not that, like at least I could cook something that'll save me money for a few days, or you know what I mean? It's just like I'm starting to wisen up to the fact that like I can't be so one-dimensional for so long. So yeah, these are just things that I've been thinking about lately, and I hope this year's been treating you guys well. Hope you guys are taking care of yourselves too. You know, just man, I don't even know what to say. Usually I have like a hint of advice I could give, but at this point I'm probably looking for advice from you guys in a lot of ways, you know. But yeah, another big thing is like trying to learn how to drive in the snow. I already had this like, not incident, but like I was driving, and of course I know, like I watch a lot of YouTube videos on like what not to do when you start like I call it surfing, right? Like when my fucking car feels like it's like surfing or something. It's like obviously when you're losing traction on the snow or the ice or whatever, but uh what happened basically was like I was driving home like la, 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 you know, just driving in the fucking car, and my car starts like like the back of my car starts like turning like, okay, my entire car turned about like 20 degrees to the left. Now mind you, like I'm not talking like the front of my car. I'm talking like the front and the back of my car like turned like entirely. Like, okay, let me illustrate this for you fucking guys. My car is driving straight down the road like this, right? Out of nowhere, my car goes like this. And I'm still going, all right, not like that extreme, right? Like, it goes from this to maybe like that. And my car is still like just moving straight, but it's slowly starting to like slide more. And there's no like it's a 2-lane aisle, so like I'm not trying, or 2-lane street, so I'm not trying to like fuck like fuck my car up. And then there's parks, there's fucking cars parked on the side, right? There's fucking a grandma coming across the street or some shit. All right, so like there's cars on the side of me, then there's other cars like, you know, like that. And I'm sure, like, I know there was a guy behind me. He saw that shit. But, like, basically, I'm glad that I watched these YouTube videos. Because, of course, if you slide on ice, you're not supposed to, you know, slam on the brakes. So, like, I started turning like this. I took my foot off the gas. And then I started correcting it, right? So it goes straight again. And then it starts going the other way. I'm just like, fuck snow. I was like, fuck ice, fuck snow, fuck Santa. I was just over this shit. I was like, dude, I don't want to go anywhere. Like, because when I first started going to jiu-jitsu, I never really wanted to go because I had to, me being a new driver, unprotected left turns or right turns kill me. I cannot stand unprotected turns. Basically, this is like when, all right. So I might not be explaining this right, but you basically have 2 lanes going this way and 2 lanes going this way, right? Traffic going both ways. I'm right here. Just imagine my stick head ass, bald head ass, just sitting in my car, right? I'm ready to make that turn, right? So there's a clearing on this side, ain't no fucking clearing on the other side, and I don't like just sitting right here. I think that's legal. I think that's illegal. I don't know what the fuck that is. But what I'll do is like nowadays I'm patient. But what I used to do like a fucking idiot is like I would see like a space on this side and like a small space. I just try to fucking, you know. But like I'm reformed. I'm reformed. I wait now, but okay. I'm giving myself a lot less credit than I probably should. Probably pissing a lot of you guys off, honestly. But get my little side mirrors on there. My little spoiler. No, I'm joking. I ain't got a spoiler. But yeah, I go to make this turn, and being a new driver, this is kind of fucking terrifying because I don't know how long it's been since a lot of you guys learned how to drive, but basically when you're turning like this, it's hard to tell if some of these cars are like in this lane or this lane. I swear to God. Sometimes it's, and of course the distance is a lot longer, right? Like this is just so you guys get what I'm saying. But sometimes it's hard to tell if they're in this lane or this lane. So when you're turning, it's like fucking, and then like at the same time, what'll happen is that there's a stoplight. Like put the little stoplight here, right? Stoplight. I like stoplight. Why? Because it slows things down for a little bit. So this will turn red. The cars will pile up, you know, right here. So they can't move, right? They stop right here. So there's gonna be a space if people see you like inching out, right? Because they're gonna stop, hopefully. But the problem is sometimes there'll be big ass trucks that stop right here, and I can't see the other side. So I have to like inch out like right here. Like my car ends up I have to inch out like right here for me to be able to see this way, to see if there's any cars like coming. At least as far as I understand it. I want to say this is not driving advice. I'm not trying to get sued, but just hear me out, okay? This shit's serious. I'd go to make this left turn, and sometimes people just fucking, whew, and it's like, holy fuck, dude. I could have like, there's so many times I could have like got hit by a car if I just didn't. And then that's the other thing that happens too. Is like on the other side, people will be coming. Sometimes they're blocking this way, and you can't. And like the left lane is kind of open, and this guy, like, there'll be a car coming this way, and they'll just fucking shoot. And it's like, holy fuck, like, how do you, because it's like, okay, I'm looking this way, slowly inching up. This guy fucking just drives right past, fast as shit. I'm like, okay, all right, kind of weird. Hey, my seats might need to be cleaned. And then by the time I get right here, I'm like, damn near, I'm just like double fucking, like, and then for my gym, I leave at first class of the day is like at 6:15 p.m. I leave around 5:30ish. It's a 15-minute drive usually. I'll get there at 45, sit in the parking lot a couple minutes, chill out in the car until the kids get done with their class, because they also teach kids at my jiu-jitsu place. So like you'll have the kids class before our class, and what's it called? Yeah. Now, for those of you guys who have a 9 to 5, you know this is the shittiest time to drive. So this happens so often, especially during the summer. So what I'm trying to say with this story is during the winter, it's even scarier, because I'm scared my car is like, I don't have a lot of experience driving in the snow and all that stuff yet. But I watch a lot of videos to try to, like, if something does happen, I'm at least a little bit more prepared for it. So like I'm scared like sometimes that my car is gonna fucking start gliding again, because the last time it glided, I didn't see black ice. Like, of course you don't always see black ice. It's black ice. It's fucking black. So you you can't see sometimes. So like sometimes I'll be a little nervous about that turn, especially if it's a snowy day. And there's like snow on the roads and shit. Some people drive in the snow like there's no snow at all. It's insane. I don't know how people get through life doing this. They'll be clocking like 45 on a 30, and it's like there's ice everywhere. It's just crazy. So like whenever I'm at work, man, and I start seeing it snowing outside, like I instantly start dreading that drive back home. Even, I mean, for me to get home, I think it's like 30 minutes from work. It's like 30 minutes from work, 15. So like I just drive. I feel sorry for any bastard behind me, but I'll just stay in the right. I'll go like the speed limit's like 40. Dude, I'll clock out easy like 30, 35 on that bitch. I'm not going, dude, until I understand what happens with my car, I'm not going an inch over 35. You got me fucked up. Especially sometimes, because let me illustrate. Sometimes for me to get to work, I have to go up 3 ramps. So basically, there's these hilly spots, I guess, that go over highways. Like the street goes over a highway, so there's cars down here, right? I have to drive over it. So like I'm always freaking out when I'm coming down. Well, not freaking out literally, but like in my car, I'm stone faced. I'm just like, but inside I'm like, fuck, you know, like, of course, because it's my first time driving in snow. So like I'm worried, like, okay, I have relatively brand new tires. I probably need to put some air in the bitches though. But what I'm saying is like sometimes, I don't know. I make up this thing in my mind that like I'm gonna be driving down this hill and somehow there's gonna be a fucking ramp somewhere, and my car is gonna be the car it's gonna slide right in that bitch. I'm going over somebody's house and someone else's front room. I don't know. So yeah, like I have to go over one that's kind of like that. I mean, it's mostly like this because it's going over a highway, right? Manageable. There's another one that goes like, this is a top-down view, right? It goes up and it goes like this. So I'm like going up while also turning. Dude, it's the most, like, honestly, I fuck 35. I'm going 30 on that shit, dude. I am not risking it. Listen, I know a lot of you guys might be like NASCAR drivers. I get it. Dude, this is my first year driving. I got my car 10 months ago. This is my first winter. So yeah, that's another thing that I've been figuring out. Yeah, just trying to learn how to, navigate this shit. Because I used to be a winter guy. I used to really like winter. I like the snow being outside. I liked it being darker for longer parts of the day. Now that I have to drive in this shit, I don't like it in the slightest. Actually, the first time I got my car, I drove, I shit you not. My friend went to get the car with me, right, at the dealership. They had this, imagine there's cars, right? You know how dealerships have their cars, like, on the sidewalk, right? I shit you guys not. I went, so, like, of course, there's the enter, exit, right? There was a sign over here somewhere. And, like, of course, it's a two-way street, like, similar to the one I was talking about before. So there's a two-way street, two lanes in each street. So going like that, and then 2 lanes on this side going like this way. I shit you not, my friend told me, follow me. Because I didn't know how to get home, right? It was raining like there's no fucking... Dude, it rained like there would never be, like, water again. Like, I don't know how to explain it. The amount of rain was ridiculous. So it was also my first time driving in the rain. And, let me wipe my nose real quick. Okay. We're back. The amount of rain that came down that day was fucking ungodly. I literally... there's a sign right here that says no left turn. My dumb ass, my friend was like, all right, follow me. I'll get you back to the house. Bro, I got right here. I didn't know where the fuck he went. I was like, fuck, where'd he go? I didn't see the sign that says no left turn. He went to the right. My dumb ass went left. Instantly broke a law. Allegedly. Instantly fucking did a left turn. I took a left turn. I'm like, oh fuck. He calls me. He's like, yo, are you fucking stupid? I'm like what happened? He's like, dude, you fucking took a left on the, and then he's going home now. I'm going some other direction. So I'm going home. I check my phone safely, mind you, at stop signs only. I drove in a straight line for probably like 15, 20 minutes straight. I only checked my phone at these lights. And I'm checking and I'm like, dude, my battery's like 10%. So I call him. I'm like, yo, I put him on speaker and he's in my lap. I'm like, yo, I'm lost, bro. I don't know where I'm going. He's like, where the fuck are you? I'm like, dude, fuck if I know. I had, I set my GPS to go home, but I knew my GPS would, like, my phone was gonna die before I reached my destination. So, like, I was like, okay, listen, I'm this close to the house or whatever. I'm at this hotel. I'll just stop here. I call him. I tell him, yo, I'm going to be at this hotel. My phone's about to die. Just come pick me up and get me out of here. And he's like, holy fuck, you're retarded. He came over there and picked me up. It's just like, dude, I'm still figuring all this shit out. So it's just like, it just goes to say there's a lot more things going on pretty much all the time than just concept art. You know what I mean? I probably admitted to a lot of things. I wish I probably admitted to a lot more things than I would have liked to, but it's just to draw the picture that there's always something you're figuring out. So yeah, the only other thing I'm still figuring out is like when people are driving, like I tend to call these people main characters, right? Because it's always this modded ass, like, Need for Speed looking ass car, and you just know they're not gonna drive normal, right? Like, I'll be like, oh, there's a main character, like, let me drive a little like an NPC, and like I'll just match the speed limit. I know he's gonna cut in front of me, so he just fucking, I just let him like zoom past me. It's over. Like, hey, let him do something somewhere else, you know. I always wondered, why in GTA there were some people driving shitty cars, and now I know, because you can't afford it. And you just have these main character motherfuckers that love to rev their engine. Like, I saw a Mustang the other day that was driving like, dude, I was at work, and like the windows to the building, to the store, are facing like the highway or whatever, or like the driveway, and I just see this Mustang like booking it, like, and it's snowy outside. It's like, what the fuck? These guys are like actually main characters, dude. So now every time I see a car that looks remotely like could be in Need for Speed, I just call him a main character and I start driving like an NPC. I immediately like slow down to the fucking speed of whatever speed sign there is, and I just fucking call it. Anyways, that was just a little story time. I don't know how that story got me 25 minutes into this, past this hour, but hope you guys take care. Hope you guys are alright for this year, and like I said before, I hope the year is treating you guys well. As far as streaming and all that stuff goes, probably, hey, I don't know, man. I'll think about it. I still have to consider it. I might honestly just start off playing like random games, but I don't know. Right now I'm playing through some pretty boring games, like, for the most part. I'm playing through Baldur's Gate 2 and this game called Stone Shard, and I have to play through, let me see what's on my desktop right now. I have Kingdom Come Deliverance, Divinity I've already kind of beaten. Wolfenstein is a game I haven't beaten yet. Just stuff like that, just chilling out. Anyways, I'll see you guys. Hope you guys learned some new stuff from this video. It's been a long time since you guys have seen my face, so hello. And yeah, I'll see you guys when I see you guys. Oh, okay. All right. Peace. Take care.